There's also this. We found an enthusiasm gap between the two parties. We asked folks on a scale of 1 to 10, how enthusiastic are you about the presidential election? And you can see Republican to Democrat, there is a gap right there. Where's the lag for Democrats? We found a couple places. Non-white voters, you could see significantly less enthusiastic than white voters. And then how about this age gap? The youngest group of voters who Democrats have been trying to get excited and motivated, a nearly 50-point gap there.
So really an uphill battle to try to make sure voters don't stay home if you're Democrats.
Yeah, that's it. And the problem for Democrats, too, the lack of enthusiasm about the election, there's clearly a lack of enthusiasm about the president himself, because we asked primary voters on the Democratic side, do you want options next year besides Biden? 59% said yes, they do. This is not a normal number for an incumbent. We asked the same question a year before Donald Trump sought re-election of Republicans. Only 37% wanted more choices then. That's a very high number.
Meanwhile,
what do you say to the 44% of Americans who say they are worse off now than they were before Biden took office?
Well, look, we all know the economic pressure that Americans have felt when the president took office. The economy was flat on its back. But we're also getting extraordinary results. More than 13 million jobs created. That's more than any presidential term in American history. And yes, it takes a while for people to feel the full benefits of those results, just like it's going to take a while to build all of the infrastructure that we're now underway on with the president's generational infrastructure bill. But he got the bill done after president, Congress after Congress couldn't make it happen. He did. We're getting the results on the economy.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about the mainstream liberal media and the continued coping that they're doing with the fact that their Lord and Savior, Joe Biden, is getting absolutely hammered in the polls. Okay, there was a poll that came out a couple days ago from the Washington Post / ABC News that showed that Trump was basically up on Biden by almost 10 points. Now, of course, this poll is an outlier. Of course, this poll is probably not as accurate, but it does show that the momentum is in Trump's favor. That if the election was held today, not just based off that poll, but based off all of the polls, it is very likely that Trump would win. He would beat Biden. Now, would it be a landslide? Probably not. It would probably be close. However, this is not what the mainstream liberal media thought that the American people would be 1 year out from the general election, where you have polls showing that Trump, again, would win if the election was held today, or it is likely that he would win, okay? Considering the indictments, considering the political witch hunt, considering everything that they've tried to throw against this man, they spend all day long talking smack about Trump, how bad he is, and all that other stuff, right? They did not anticipate that it would be this close, okay? The polls are supposed to tighten as we get closer to the election, okay, in favor of Republicans, not the other way around. The fact that Trump now is basically in the lead over Biden in a year out, most likely that means that he's going to continue to expand his lead if things do not get better for Biden, specifically in regards to how people feel about the economy. And of course, the mainstream liberal media is coping, right? People like Joe Scarborough, who's essentially a former Republican turned Democrat propagandist for MSNBC, had a mini meltdown this morning on his show with Mika Brzezinski over these polls, specifically the ABC poll that showed Trump up on Biden by basically double digits. These guys getting to the point now where they don't believe the polls, right? They don't trust the polls, and they're attacking progressives and Trump supporters for touting these polls as reasons why it is likely that Biden would lose. Take a look.
And Mika, it's true. I mean, remember after Iowa?
Yeah.
He was dead. Remember after New Hampshire? Mocked, ridiculed, dead. After Nevada, there's no way he can come back. He wins South Carolina, he wins the nomination. We heard the same thing. He's too old. He's living in his basement. He stopped up. He can't get out of his basement. He's going to lose. And then election night, oh, well, Trump's going to win this state and that state. Now things wrong. And then progressives, as well as Trumpers, wrong for 2 years about bipartisan. I'm just telling you, maybe these polls are right. Well, they're not right. It's not 9 points. Morning Joe betting syndicate will take all of your bets right now. Like if you want to take the +9 on Joe Biden, no, Biden's not going to lose by 9 points. This is a close race, and there are warning signs there. I will say, though, I'm a little tired of it. I'm a little tired of 3 years hearing about how Joe Biden's going to get crushed. He's going to get crushed in 2020. He and the Democrats are going to get crushed in 2022. There's going to be a red wave. There's no way he can pass bipartisan legislation. He passes more than anybody this century. And it just keeps going on and on.
There's a bunch of things at play. And to jump on what you're saying, if these truth tellers would say, it doesn't look good, these polls don't look good, but we've been here before. Let me give some context historically. Look what happened the last time. He was underestimated. And also in terms of his age, look at what President Biden is doing. Go through his schedule. Look at the things that he has accomplished. List them. And then talk about a man his age and what he is able to do at his age, since age is relative. And as for Donald Trump, I think that there has got to be a point where if you're an organization that works around debating the issues and following the truth, I don't know why there are extensive interviews with this man when he cannot even admit he lost the election. Like, that would be the end of any interview anywhere, or it should be. And instead, he pontificates and rolls over people with lies, and people continue to put him on as if he is a truth teller.
You look at Jonathan.
And he's not a truth teller.
Yeah, so you see now, you heard that, okay? Clearly, this is cope from Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, to the point where Mika Brzezinski is essentially advocating for networks to blackball Trump, right? Don't bring Trump on the platform because all he does is lie, right? And they are living in a world where they really believe that the mainstream liberal media isn't actively pushing back against Trump every chance they get when he interviews, right? Anytime Trump sits down for an interview, you have to deal with fact check after fact check after fact check after fact check, something that Joe Biden doesn't have to deal with, even though Biden lies more than Trump does, right? But Biden doesn't ever have to deal with that. Okay, but Trump in every interview has to deal with that, and he's still winning despite the efforts from the mainstream liberal media to not to cover anything bad that Joe Biden does and to essentially just trash Trump all day, right? It's just so hilarious how that works. These people really do believe that, well, it's the media's fault for giving Trump a platform, right? Okay, interviewing the former president of the United States. This apparently is something that the alleged free press is not supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to interview the former president of the United States because he might win, right? We don't want that guy to win, so stop interviewing him. But anyways, I want to talk about Joe Scarborough and his cope here in regards to the polls. Because again, they're living in this revisionist world where they believe that, well, no, Biden was the underdog in 2020 and during that election, and people didn't have any faith in him and blah, blah, blah. When it's like, no. If you look at the polls, this is from Real Clear Politics, back in 2020, Biden was winning across the board, right? I mean, he was blowing Trump out in the popular vote, right? And that's the thing about polls that people don't understand. People, and I've been guilty of this myself, believe that, well, the polls aren't accurate. Well, no, the polls are accurate. They just aren't accurate as people would like them to be, right? In the sense that in 2020, if you believe the election results, Biden did win the popular vote, which showed up in the polls, okay? However, what happens, okay, with the polls is that it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen in some of these swing states, right? Swing state polling, I think, is where the polls actually really lack. And because we have a electoral college system where you don't necessarily have to win a popular vote in order to win a presidency, what happens is that sometimes you get results like what happened in 2016, where Hillary won a popular vote. The poll says she'll win a popular vote, but Trump actually ended up winning, okay, because of those swing states that went in Trump's favor. That, again, the polls probably had Trump within the margin of error, right? So it's really hard to say whether or not he would win or lose, okay? So, again, that's what people don't understand about polls. Same thing in 2022, okay, with the midterms, right? Yes, the polls predicted a red wave, okay, and we didn't get the red wave, but we did get a red trickle, right? So, again, it's not that they're not accurate at all. It's just that they're not as accurate as people would like them to be, right? But it's just so funny how when the polls are in Biden's favor, okay, oh yeah, the polls are accurate, right? When the polls are not in Biden's favor, oh, the polls aren't accurate. Again, they're trashing the ABC poll, right? And again, that's just kind of how things work, right? They're just mad and upset that their boy Biden isn't doing as good as they feel like he should, despite the witch hunt and the negative press, right? So that being said, I want to talk about another interview in the mainstream liberal media with Hillary Clinton, because I think that Hillary, who's still dealing with her loss in the 2016 election to Trump, is essentially going to say something that I believe Democrats are going to do. This is what they're going to embrace if Trump wins in 2024, which is that the election was stolen. And Hillary Clinton, of course, is pushing this idea that Russia, Putin is going to interfere in the election on behalf of Trump and steal it from Joe Biden. Take a look.
Vladimir Putin has obviously your friend and mine.
Yes, indeed.
He has intervened in our election in the past.
Right.
It's not something, as you experienced firsthand, it's not something we talk about a lot. Do you fear that that is something that could be happening for 2024? And do you think we should be talking about it more?
Well, I think we should be talking about it more, because I don't think, despite all of the deniers, there's any doubt that he interfered in our election, or that he has interfered in many ways in the internal affairs of other countries, funding political parties, funding, political candidates, buying off, government officials in different places. So that is his opus, his opus operandi, in the sense that he hates democracy. He particularly hates the West, and he especially hates us. And he has determined that he can do two things simultaneously. He can try to continue to damage and divide us internally, and he's quite good at it. And sadly, he has a lot of apologists and enablers in our own country, people who either don't see the danger or dismiss it out of hand, or maybe agree with some of the positions he's taken on certain things, including his barbaric invasion of Ukraine. And so dividing us and then trying to seize territory in such a brutal way to try to expand his reach, to try to restore the Russian Empire, if not the former Soviet Union, that is who he is. I said that for years. Part of the reason he worked so hard against me is because he didn't think that he wanted me in the White House. So we are where we are, and part of the challenge is to continue to explain to the American public that the kind of leader Putin is, this authoritarian dictator who literally kills his opposition, kills journalists, poisons people who disagree with him, invades other country, interferes with our election. That is part of the alternative we have to reject in this election. We have to reject authoritarianism. We have to reject a kind of creeping fascism almost of people who are really ready to turn over their thinking, their votes, to want to be dictators, and we can't allow that to proceed. So I think it's fair to say that you have a tough job, because you have to talk about what's happening in the news, but you also have to keep people's eyes on what's right behind the horizon. And I fear that the Russians have proved themselves to be quite adept at interfering, and if he has a chance, he'll do it again.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand the thesis of the Democrats' claims that Russia interfered in the 2016 election, and somehow, some way, that's why Hillary didn't win, okay? And how ridiculous this is, right? Okay, the thesis is that, well, Russia interfered by buying Facebook ads targeted at black people, right? To get them not to vote for Hillary and to support Trump, which is just hilarious to think about, right? It really is. I'm not sure how many people in their votes are actually affected by Facebook ads. They haven't provided any proof or evidence that this has actually swayed anybody's vote, okay? And Hillary continues to cope with the reality that she lost, okay? She's high on copium, and she's been high on it ever since she lost, and she hasn't come down, okay? And I'm starting to feel bad for Hillary because she's at the point now where she's becoming exactly what the Democrat Party rail against when it comes to election conspiracy theories, right? In which she is essentially saying that, well, Russia might interfere with the 2024 election the same way they interfered in the 2016 election when they didn't want me to win, right? So we know what she's trying to say. What she's trying to say is that, well, Russia's going to interfere on behalf of Trump, right? That Trump is going to be helped by Russia. Putin is going to help Trump because they're both, butt buddies, and, they're in the same bed together, and you guys know what they claim, right? And at the end of the day, this is just the Democrats' way of essentially claiming that the election will be stolen, right? Which, hey, it's something that you're not supposed to say if you are a Republican, okay? If you're conservative, you're not supposed to say that, okay? You're an insurrectionist. But when Democrats come out here and talk about how the election is stolen or how it will be stolen, then, hey, you're just speaking truth to power about what Putin is doing and his interference that he's doing in the U.S. elections. Again, it's just so hilarious how that works, okay? Despite having no evidence whatsoever that the alleged interference from Russia actually led black people to not vote for Hillary, right? No evidence whatsoever. Oh, no, they peddle this as if it's fact, right? But again, what's going to happen is that if Trump wins, these people are going to cope by claiming that the election was stolen. I actually predict that we're going to see a liberal backlash to Trump winning that is going to result in something that is going to make January 6th look like child play, right? I really do believe that. I believe that the political violence that you're going to see from the left, the outrage that you're going to see from the left, is going to be something like we've never seen before, because there is at least 30% of this country that gets a form of severe derangement at the thought of Trump, right? Again, if Trump took back the White House, these people would lose their minds. They would go insane, okay? And I really do believe that there is a threat of political violence if Trump wins, but again, not from Trump supporters, from a lot of these deranged liberals who will not accept the election results, and you're going to see 2020 happen all over again after Trump wins, except, again, it's going to come from the other side, right? And it's going to be hilarious to watch these same people that lecture half America on how you can't make these types of claims about the election all of a sudden start to make these types of claims if/when Trump wins. Again, these people are hypocrites. They really are, okay? They have no standards whatsoever. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.